You are listening to the Mental Gains Podcast. I'm Matt Russell, and on this episode, we're just going to jump right into it. We have special guest, author and podcaster Kay Flowerz. Here's Verna, right with the questions. Boom, here we go.
So for our last episode of the year, we have Kay Flowerz here with us. She is a multi-talented individual. She is an author, a speaker, and a certified life coach. And she is here today to tell us a little bit about her mental health journey and how we can navigate grief through the holidays. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
We're going to start out by learning a little bit about your own mental health journey and spiritual journey, if you'd like to include that. I was reading over your webpage, and it says that your journey through your own experiences with trauma and depression has given you a profound understanding that our past does not define our future. So if you could give us a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit of my background. I did grow up in a space where it was just really at times very toxic, and it was really hard to even feel like I can express myself or my emotions. And so just dealing with that and feeling like my voice didn't matter, I dealt with, verbal abuse and just traumas. And so knowing that even though I came from that, that doesn't have to be how my journey ends. I always have the ability to grow and improve and heal, which was a really big part of, everything that I went through. I just knew, I had this vision, even as a kid, I had a vision of myself being something more than my current circumstances. In my book, I share about my journey and how, really through, my experiences with depression and those experiences, I was able to find a place of healing and hope through my faith.
Mm-hmm. And Kay, how old are you right now?
I'm 25.
You're 25. And
yes.
You said even while you were growing up, you had a sense of this is not how I want my life to play out.
Yeah.
So even as a kid, you knew there was something not quite right about the way you were being raised?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I feel like no kid, should have to have gone through what I went through, and have to deal with such, abuse. Sometimes it's not necessarily even bullies in school that could be our bullies. Sometimes it's our own environment and upbringing.
Right.
And so I knew that wasn't right because I had I've been in other people's houses and friends, and seeing how their parents interact with them and and then what they share with me. So I knew there was something more to this, unfortunately this is, what I had to deal with. But I just knew some kind of way, even if it just means me, once I become a parent, I'm just going to just make sure my kid never has to feel the way I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the turning point was when you said, hey, instead of experiencing this pain all the time, I'm going to transform it and I'm going to change it into something else, or helping myself and then helping other people? I
feel what really helped me to think even bigger in that, because I didn't necessarily know what that looked like as a kid, but I just knew that I wanted something else, something better. And so I actually had the opportunity to interact with and have a therapist, before I even became an adult and stuff. So me just having those conversations with my therapist, that really helped me realize, yeah, this isn't normal kind of circumstances and stuff. So just, letting my feelings be validated, and just knowing okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not, this isn't normal, and there's something more that can be done. And so, and there's healing that can be had too, which I thought was pretty cool to know, even then, and seek that out even as I got older. I knew, when I got to college, I found out they had free, support groups in college and free, mental health resources. I'm I want to learn about all of that, because my first initial experience with the therapist was really good. So I'm I want to continue to keep healing, because I know there's some stuff in there that I still need to heal from.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a painful process at first?
Oh, absolutely. Because, you have to uncover so many things that you, again, for me, I thought, was normal for me, but experiencing it. But again, later on, realizing that's definitely not, something that everybody goes through. So yeah, it was a painful process. I cried a lot. I was oh my gosh, that whole journey of healing is like, it's not as pretty and aesthetic-y as everybody makes it seem. Like, I'm on my healing journey. Like, it's not always a beautiful thing. It could be a mess.
It can't fit into one Instagram post.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like,
Right.
it just can't. Like, there's just so much more to that healing process. And so, you know, like, it was hard and it was challenging, but I feel like it brought a lot out of me, and it helped me again to like communicate my feelings more, because I didn't know how to do that. I was used to running away from hard feelings and shutting down, you know, with conflict, and like not wanting to talk things through or just be silent about it, like feeling I had to figure it out myself, which I like, as a lot of people who've dealt with depression, they feel like they have to like, they can't really go talk to people about, like, they don't want to put their burdens or problems on other people. And
Right.
I felt like that a lot. Like, I didn't talk about it. And so I, you know, wore a smile on my face, but I was going through hell back at home. So it was just, you know, something that I dealt with.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of like shame or embarrassment, or you feel like you're going to get in trouble if you talk about things, and you want to save face for the whole family and all of that.
Yeah.
Definitely. You said that therapy was really helpful in your
Yes.
journey, probably because of the education and knowing, you know, like, okay, this is how things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is not how things are supposed to be as a child.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, though, what else helped you and gave you strength on your journey?
So the biggest thing for me was going to my grandmother's house. Like, that for me was like heaven every time, because you know, she was so nurturing and so loving. Like, I always talk about my grandmother. That woman, she's no longer here today. She had passed away when I was 15, but she was like that, you know, that thing, that person that helped me hold on. And even with her, it took me a while to open up with her about like the things that I was going through. But like, you know, she always, you know, had that nurturing spirit about her, which I feel like that's something I thankfully have held on to, even though I went through all that stuff. Like, you know, and that's another thing too, like, fast forward to today, like, there's been so much healing and restoration in relationships that have happened, and like, things are not how they used to be. And I have those relationships, you know, and again, it's not everybody's story, like everybody's relationships. You can heal people from afar and you don't have to talk to them again. But for me, going through that healing journey, that forgiveness process, like, I don't even hold anything against anyone anymore. So we're in a better place now.
I love when you talk about your grandmother.
Yeah.
This is a podcast, so people can't see your face, but your face
Yeah.
did light up.
Yeah.
And it seems like everybody needs at least that one person to reach out and show them, hey, there's a better way to do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that life can be difficult.
Yeah.
And it can be like a whirlpool that is sucking you down, and you just need that one person to reach out their hand.
Yeah.
Some people are blessed with lots of folks in their lives who can
Right.
do that. But without your grandmother, do you think you'd be on a different trajectory?
When I think about that, I really don't even know, like, if I would have been here today, like, if it wasn't for her. And seeing her example and seeing how, like, she loved on me and made me feel special, like, my grandmother and, again, my faith in God, like, those two things, hand in hand, like, really helped me to push through all of that. So, yeah, she had a huge part to play, and she is a big reason, I feel like, for my, you know, my growth today. Yeah.
Okay, so this might be an odd question, but it's always interesting to me. When your grandmother passed, when you were 15,
Yeah.
do you think that made your faith grow?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that brings up a whole other story. But yeah, that definitely made my faith grow, because I know, and it's going to sound obviously to some a little woo-woo, but I'm going to share it anyways, because I feel like this really helped me personally get the comfort I needed. And so when my grandmother passed away the day of, and mind you, I lived in her house at the time when she passed away. That's important to know. So, and she passed away in her room, and my room was a couple doors down. I didn't know she passed away that day until I came back from school, and my mom later in the day told me that she passed away. But for me, when that happened and when I came into her house after coming from school, I remember hearing as clear as day her voice talk to me and tell me, like, don't worry, Bep. Like, and this, again, this is just my experience. She said, don't worry, Bep, I'm with Jesus now. And I remember hearing that as clear as day. And I'm like, and my mom said, okay. Like, once my brother came back from school, she's like, all right, I just wanted to let you guys know, like, I don't even remember the exact words, but your grandma's no longer here and all of that. She passed away in the night. And I said, really? Because she told me that. And my mom's like, what? Like, and so for me, like, even though, like, I still went through that grieving process and crying and all of that, and, like, just really, it was really hard, that whole experience. And even today, I still miss her. But that in itself, like, gave me so much comfort, because that woman is also the one who told me about my faith. She's the one who, introduced me to Jesus and, like, that whole journey. And so for me, like, that was just like, okay, like, I'm just going to continue, doing, and I've had my own little rocks in the road and bumpy roads with my faith and things like that. But I just feel like that experience forever, like, changed my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have a lot more to get into, but I do want to bookmark one thing to come back to. You said this story could be seen as a little woo-woo, but it's interesting, like, the self-help group that I most often attend is AA, and there is certainly a spiritual aspect to it.
Yeah.
Almost that's the main component. And so further along in this interview, when we start talking about how you got into being a life coach, I do want to come back to that spiritual element.
Absolutely.
Because some people are very resistant to the idea of spirituality when it comes to self-help.
Yeah.
But for me, it was pivotal.
Yeah,
for my recovery. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's helpful for people when they learn about it, even if they don't experience experiences like that.
Yeah.
But when you do, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's just how it is.
I agree.
So,
and that definitely, my personal development and my spiritual journey go hand in hand. Like, it just, it all goes together and coincides, and it just enhances, like, I feel like, my journey, my growth journey.
Just knowing that you're not the center of the universe, that they're in AA, we call it a higher power.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's something else out there that you can just, not everything is my responsibility. I'm not trying to be in control of the world.
Right.
I'm not the director, the writer, the stage manager, the lighting person, the audio person.
Right.
And just letting somebody else do the heavy lifting sometimes.
Yeah, and see, funny that you mentioned that. Like, that's literally how my grandmother, and this is another thing. I told you, I talk about her a lot, but this woman, when she was dealing with cancer and chemo, like the way that she, like, just still had a happy spirit. And she's like, don't even worry. Like, God is in control. Don't even, like, don't be sad. Like, I'll be all right. And even though she was dealing with so much pain, and she still had, like, faith in the higher power. Yeah. And that brought her, helped her through that process.
There's a bigger plan.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
All right, let's see if we can transition here into.
Yeah.
Good luck.
When did you get started in writing and life coaching?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So.
And how did you get started?
Yeah. So writing, that started at a young age. I got into journaling and, like, writing poetry and songs. I actually wanted originally to be a singer, even though I don't really have the vocals for it, but I wanted to be a singer and songwriter. So I started, like, I started writing songs and poetry, and then my other grandmother, which I'm close to both of them, introduced me to, like, hey, like, you can journal your prayers and stuff like that. So I got started in, like, writing prayers, poetry, all of that at a young age. I just started doing that, and that was an outlet for me too, especially during the times where, like I said, I was going through a lot and experiencing all these emotions and these experiences. Just being able to go into my room, and, like, I had bunch of journals just for different things, and I would just write. So yeah, that just naturally, like, I felt led to, like, write. Like, I've always been a writer. I've always, loved the idea of creativity too, and creative writing. And life coaching came later, actually, in or after college. I'm pretty sure it was, like, in the mid of that or something like that. But I started getting into that because I actually had a mentor who was a life coach, and a mentor who I also interned with her organization working with women. So that's how, like, for me, like, how I got into women's life coaching, because her example of that, like, in my time of college, like, I was a part of, like, setting up, and we did women's conferences, and we were, doing workshops in the community, and it just opened me up to so much. So if you're listening to this right now, shout out to you, because you really, opened my eyes to something bigger and amazing, just giving back to the community and helping women. So yeah, that's where that came from.
All right, awesome. What did you major in college?
Oh, I majored in business management and I minored in communication. So I did like public speaking classes and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
A lot of the more well-adjusted folks in my life
Yeah.
have a journaling practice.
Yeah.
I have tried a billion times to start a practice. When I first started here, I don't know if you remember, Verna, I would journal every morning. But I always fall off. I can't stay consistent with it. Starting a new routine is very difficult.
Yeah.
What would you tell people like me about a journaling practice, how to get started?
I would say a really good way to get started, especially like me being a writer, but someone who may not be a writer, but when I have writer's block, the same thing that I do would be, finding a prompt, and you can always find prompts online to just, get started in writing. And so finding a prompt and then setting aside a specific time, like, okay, like I like to call Wednesdays Writing Wednesday. I'm just going to, that's a really great time. And you could choose whatever day of the week, but just like, all right, on this day, I'm just going to spend a few minutes in the morning and write. And so, so like you could choose a day and a time and then find a prompt online, or you could find guided journals that have those questions already in it. And they can, just help you, think a little deeply. And then whatever comes to mind, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a lot, but whatever comes to mind for that prompt, just, write out your responses. And just naturally, as you start to do that more and more consistently in small bits and pieces, like it'll be something that, not for everybody, but like it could be something to look forward to, I would say.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
I think that's, it doesn't have to be perfect
that's
at all.
Huge advice that I need. You have a 1-year-old daughter?
Yes.
And now, does she respect Writer Wednesday?
Sometimes, but not really.
Yeah.
She's like, but sometimes I'll still I'll still be writing. Like on my, like sometimes I have to navigate from my notebook to my phone while she's like, cause she's like still like waking up, cause I'll wake up early in the morning to write. So she'll like wake up and then, cause and then I'll grab her and then I'll finish writing on my phone and then go back and transfer the notes from my phone to my notebook.
You adapt to her routine.
Yes, exactly. You have to as a mom. Yeah.
The audience wants to know a little bit more about life coaching. What is life coaching? What was the training like, or the education that you did for that?
Yeah, so what is life coaching? So the way that I would explain life coaching is really accountability. Like in short, like the shortest way to explain is accountability and support on your journey. So I feel like, or sorry, not I feel like, but specifically how I got started, I went through training with life coaching school and I got my certification that way. But a lot of things that you learn there is really just being able to like adapt to the person you're coaching with. And like, everybody's style is a little bit different and working with people. So just being able to adapt and, meeting people where they are. And as they, as you're helping them progress in whatever goals they may have or like things that they're looking to accomplish, like you're like that mentor, that supporter in the process.
Yeah, like a cheerleader.
Yeah, like there we go, cheerleader.
Right. I know that, on your website, it says that your mission is to help women transform from their pain into purpose.
Yes.
And you say that you do that by helping women embrace their stories to have an impact. Do you just work with women or do you work with men? And why are you drawn to helping women?
So let me say this. I will not turn away men. I will not turn away men who are interested in my services. But what I have found is that women are more drawn to me. And we've meshed well together. But again, if a man does come and would like life coaching from me, I won't turn them away. So I just feel like, again, kind of with that process and what I saw like in my, back when I was with the mentorship and just how like working with women then and just seeing again, like, yeah, there's a lot of things that we as women relate to each other and we know, different things. So I don't know. I just love seeing that transition, especially like if they've gone through similar experiences, and even if they haven't, like just being able to work with them, like it's been a very nice process. Yeah.
when you're doing the life coaching, a lot of it is geared around kind of getting people to increase their self-awareness. What are some ways that people can help increase their self-awareness?
Well, that's a great question. Definitely going back to what we were talking about with journaling. That is a really great way to increase self-awareness, especially when you're doing journal prompts on things around personal development and self-awareness. So yeah, being able to write out your experiences and really think through those things and really just dissecting it, you know. I feel like that just helps you become more self-aware. And for me, that was the case. Like the more I started reflecting on my experiences and journaling about it, it just made me so much more aware of like where I am and like what I went through and how to talk about it. So sometimes you may not verbally know how to speak about it, but when you write it down and you could look back on it on paper, you're like, wow, like, and then you could always go back over your journals and see like your progress from 2013 to now and things like that. So yeah, journaling is a really great one. Increasing self-awareness as well, I would say, is to be able to really just have that time alone. Like the more you spend really just researching things that you're interested in, things that you want to learn about or you want to get a degree in or whatever, just the more you do your research on things that come to mind for you and like learn how it works, like I think that also just increases self-awareness, you know, like, oh, like I've always wanted to look into knitting, for example. And so the awareness is, hey, like it's come to mind. And now, like, let me actually go see like how this works out. Like, let me try knitting. Like it comes to mind for me. Why not give it a shot? You never know until you try. So I think that's a really big thing. Like, you know, don't second guess yourself. If you want to check out some sort of new field or new hobby, like just go for it.
Mm-hmm. Explore a little bit.
Yeah.
With the writing, it's so interesting how when you write it down, it makes it more tangible.
Absolutely.
Like I had a mentor who had me write down basically a list of negative energy I was harboring in myself towards other people, resentments.
Yeah.
And I was dragging my feet on it because I procrastinate on everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my head, I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to write down. I know the scenarios that I'm feeling resentful about, the people I'm feeling resentment towards. Mm-hmm. I had it all in my head. I just was dragging my feet to write it down on paper. But as soon as I wrote it down, it was way more insightful. To see it in front of me, it made it more concrete. It allowed me to draw insight from it in a way that I couldn't when it was just floating around in my head.
Right, and I think a lot of people do that, especially the ones that always, you know, take mental checks instead of writing down a checklist. Like, I think that is just so much more, like, tangible. Literally, I mean, obviously, it's paper. It's tangible, and you're like, okay, like, now let's work through this, right? And you can write down the steps or figure out what next steps that you need to take to figure out, you know, what you need to do.
Right.
Right. So yeah. So
or who you need to talk to.
Yeah. So it helps with processing a lot. And
absolutely.
I had a therapist when I was going through some grief, and she was like, "You have to start writing things down."
Yeah.
Because the more that you write things down, and the more it's concrete, and the more you see it, this reinforces it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like gratitudes and affirmations,
Big
which you do a lot of.
Yeah.
And just like life goals.
Yeah.
You know, if you just keep it in your head, it's just a fantasy.
Yeah.
If you start writing it down and you start working toward the goals,
I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at Verna does this.
I know.
Tell the audience about your manifestation.
Right.
Project.
So I mean, you know, there's again a lot of opinions about, you know, manifesting. It's become really popular.
Yeah, I'm with it.
But it is a method that actually works if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
If you are consciously writing something down and thinking about it and then looking at it over and over,
right,
then these are the things that create things to happen.
Absolutely.
If you're just fantasizing in your mind once in a while, that's not going to create anything.
Yeah.
But you have to put the work in too.
Put in the work, yeah, because it's not, and that's the thing too, because yes, I also believe in manifestation, the process of manifestation. And so, being able to write down, or, a lot of people do, not the New Year's resolutions, but vision boards and like just the things that they want to accomplish in their life or in the year, And so when you can visually see, pictures of it or the words written down, like it's just, it helps you get an idea. Again, all the things in your head, putting it on paper, seeing it, and now figuring out, okay, what's the steps I need to take to get there? Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example of something that I manifested this year. I manifested getting interviewed and being on TV. And so I put that on my vision board back in December when I created it. And I knew, in order to have these different opportunities come up, I have to put myself out there. And so being willing to put yourself out there also helps you to manifest faster, like aligning yourself in that, being in that mindset, in that space, and doing the work, networking, reaching out to people, emailing, whatever you have to do, talking to people, making connections, like that can help you. And again, continuing that process of practicing gratitude, the things you already have, being grateful for as you work towards more. That process for me, like that practice of gratitude has taken me so many places and has opened up so many doors for me just because I was being grateful for what I already have. I was thanking God for what I already had as I worked for getting to the next steps or what have you. So yeah, definitely writing it down,
right?
Making the vision plain.
She made me say, or you didn't make me. I wanted to. From your suggestion, I was not super aware of. I know the concept of manifesting.
Yeah.
But Verna has like an actual practice that she does, and to sit down and do that with her. I still have mine in my cabinet.
Right. Oh, I love that. Right. We'll have to.
One of my manifesting things this year was to get my kitchen painted, and at a cost that I could afford.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do that this year. Again, keeping your eyes open and talking to people.
Right.
And people will help you on your journey.
They will.
If you tell them what you want and you're putting yourself out there and you trust that you are enough for whatever you're manifesting.
Yeah.
And you have that confidence.
Yeah.
Then people will just be drawn to you. They'll help you. They'll tell you like, oh, hey, I have a friend that can help you, or, this or that.
Right. And one thing I've learned too in this process of manifestation is no means next opportunity. So even when I do get rejected, because at times you will find that things don't always work out as easily as you planned or envisioned it. So knowing that, as you step out on faith and work, towards those things that you want to manifest, like, everything will align for you. And just when one door closes, another one will open.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Did you manifest being a published writer? We know you're a writer, but being a writer is different than being a writer who's like, I'm going to share this with other people.
Yes.
What was that process like, going from creating art for yourself to creating art for everybody?
Wow, that's a really, really good question, because I feel like every person who's about to publish their work or has the desire to, or whatever the case is, a part of you feels like, do I really want to release my baby into the world, right? Because your work is your baby. It really is.
But it's not yours anymore once you release it.
I mean, it's still your baby, but it's your baby that everyone has
their own thoughts
about and shares, So for me, that process was really like, that was actually a process I really had to work with God on, because I'm like, okay, like I know that I want to do this. I know you're calling me to do this, but it's like, do I really want, because like these are personal things that I wrote in my journal as a kid. Like a lot of the stuff I share in my book, I wrote as a kid. And so this like, ooh, like I don't, and like the thoughts of judgment, that's another thing. People judging you or whatever they're going to think. So really just, again, getting out my head about it. I think that's a really big thing. Getting out of your head about the opinions of others, like the negative opinions, and knowing that somebody, even if your book or your writings reach one person, you've still reached someone with your work. You've still impacted somebody's life. So getting out of my head about myself and how I would feel, just thinking about the breakthroughs, the reviews that people will give. So for me, like, and going back to what I said about, well, I didn't say that yet, but I'm really big in like affirmations and manifestations. So even before I became an author, I wrote down affirmations about being an author and, you know, how people are going to receive my book and how they're going to love it and write reviews. And so to see, you know, I spoke that into existence. I worked towards that, and that happened. I've had people tell me that their book has literally changed, my book has changed their life, and they've cried and they had breakthrough moments and a lot of that. So it's like just remembering that your purpose is bigger than you. You can impact even one person's life, and you've done a lot with that. So yeah, get your writings out there, get your book out there if you are, you know, if that's on your heart or whatever is on your heart to do, and not hold on to for yourself. Share your talents with the world.
Love that. And don't create like the world is watching over your shoulder.
Yeah.
That's what I struggled with for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make artwork and I wanted to put artwork out.
Right.
But when you're making something with the intention of showing other people, you feel like other people are looking over your shoulder and judging you while you're making it.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and I feel like that's a big one with artists, like physical artists too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I kind of have... I think I've worked through some of that perfectionism.
Yeah.
And I do feel more comfortable just putting stuff out.
Right.
You know? Just...
Even if it's not perfect.
Especially if it's not perfect.
Especially, right? That part. Because I definitely dealt with perfectionism as well. So, yeah, like it doesn't have to be perfect. And just think of it as... One of my favorite mentors online, his name is Brendan Burchard. He also has books. He shared, and I'll never forget this, about how, I believe it was Brendan, how, you know, you're able to really document your journey. So even like, you know, if you feel like it's not perfect right now, that's all right. Like you will be able to look back at how, you know, you started and where you are now, and just that process, document it and let other people see that. And I've seen so many like YouTubers do this, right? You may see like moments where they'll even think like that was kind of cringy, like back then watching their old YouTube videos, and then, you know, where they are now and the success they're having on YouTube. Like it's pretty cool to see. I think it's awesome. So
it's
when
a
you
diary.
Right. When you think of it like that, like you don't have to be especially in your diary, you don't have to be perfect, right? Just start.
Yeah. How much specifically do you write about grief?
With grief, I would say in the past more than now, I did pretty often, like just, you know, sharing, you know, my thoughts and like how much I miss my grandmother, and just kind of like, you know, just writing that out. So there's times too when even at different moments, because I mean, I feel like different moments it could hit you, you know, when you've lost a loved one, and it's just kind of heavier than other times. So literally just writing about that, like just in that moment or later on or whatever the case is. Like sometimes I may not write it on paper. I'll just write it in my notes on my phone, especially days that are like, you know, dates and their birthdays or stuff like that may, you know, really touch your heart or hit you. It's like, okay, well, you know, I just want to, you know, just write out what I'm feeling like. Because at times when you think about the person, you know, you want to cry, you miss them, you want them to be there. And it's like, you know, let me write this out. Let me just, like I'm talking to, you know, my grandma again, or whoever your loved one is. Like, just write it out. Like, just talk to them.
Especially this time of year, too.
Right, especially during Christmas, right?
A lot of people are struggling during the holidays because they think about... A lot of times we don't think about what we have, we think about what we're missing.
Yes.
And so sometimes we're, you know, oh, my grandma's not here, my mom's not here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we wanted to kind of end this podcast with. How do you navigate grief during the holidays? Or, you know, what are some self-help things that you can do to kind of ease the depression a little bit?
I would say one of the biggest ones is like surrounding yourself with community. Friends, or be it family, or even, you know, like support groups in your community, like just being able to get plugged in and not be isolated. I think that's a really big thing, especially during sad seasons. So getting around people who can, encourage you and uplift you, or finding those communities, like I said, support groups, just doing research, even on online communities. You can find tons of resources on Facebook and groups around mental health or grief or whatever the case is. So really just, when you feel that isolation and that grief, just reach out, find that community, or even if it's like your therapist or whatever, especially that, like if you need that additional support, looking into that professional that can help you through the process.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways that you can honor loved ones during the holiday?
Oh, yeah, this is my favorite question, specifically when it comes around, the holidays. So just thinking about your loved ones and the things that you guys would do around the holidays, especially if they were someone who celebrated the holidays, or even if they didn't celebrate the holidays, what are things that they like to do? What things did you like to do with them? And just start to do that in honor of them. So like this year, right, the decorating and all the fun, like the old school Christmas music, like with like the Temptations and stuff. My grandmother loved playing like the Temptations and all the old school Christmas songs during the holidays. So like playing those songs and just remembering, we would literally dance to those. Like
Grandma had good taste.
That's what I'm saying, right? Me and my grandma, we would dance. We would have the little, what's that campfire? Not campfire, the fire log station.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
on, like YouTube, that's just like 8 hours.
Right, or watch the Macy's parade. Like, like that just makes their spirit come alive, when you do those things that you enjoy doing with them and that they love doing with you. So, yeah, just finding whatever that is, baking cookies or making their favorite meal that you guys enjoy together, even creating some sort of ornament in their memory or picture frame or, whatever that is.
When I first met Verna was a little bit over a year ago when we were going into like Thanksgiving and Christmas time. And I know that last year that was your first holidays without your mom.
Right.
And what's it like going into the holidays after having experienced that first?
Yeah. So last year it was the first year, and so everything was new. And the grief was kind of heavy. The depression was kind of heavy. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't have a family now, because my mom was the one who kind of brought everybody together.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, no, what am I going to do for the holidays? Who am I going to see? Who am I going to spend time with? And I didn't put a lot of planning in it because I didn't know what it was going to be like. And I was having a lot of emotions about it. So it was a struggle. So last year was a struggle. But what I learned is on the days or, the holidays where I was able to get like support from friends or go out and do something or, get invited to somebody else's family holiday, those days were easier. Mm-hmm. So this year, I kind of came up with a plan, in advance, like, okay, I'm going to, go to this friend's, I'm going to, spend this day with my boyfriend, I'm going to do this.
I love that.
So that way, there won't be that isolation or that alone or that time to kind of sink into.
Yeah.
Instead, it'll be like, okay, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You thought about the traditions that you want to honor.
Yeah.
You're going to make the pierogies, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. So it's a lot better if you take the time to have the future planning of what it's going to be like. Mm-hmm. It makes it a lot easier.
I agree. And I love that so much too, continuing like with the recipes or even joining friends with their family. Mm-hmm. And that's always the sweet, like the kindest thing ever, like to open your home to someone or for them to open their home to you. Like it just, makes processing grief and all of that so much easier to navigate.
It redefines the word family.
Yes, absolutely.
And what's also very important is, not just to surround yourself, but also to do all the self-care.
Yes.
I made it a point to this year that I was going to do all the things that make me feel good.
Yes.
I was going to go to musical events. I was going to, sit in front of fires. I was going to do more meditation, and just having that, the coping skills and the things that you're going to do in your back pocket when things get bad and you actually use them.
You actually use
it's very
them.
powerful.
Yeah.
It's very powerful it's almost sometimes easier for you to go into your depression than it is to actually do the work to try to not fall into it.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with you with the self-care, especially when you're feeling low. And I think that goes back to the awareness. We talked about self-awareness, knowing that, hey, like the holidays are around and I know, that person that I love is no longer here. Like how, can I take care of myself? Who can I surround myself with? Who could I call? What things can I do to really help me navigate this? And, I think some of the self-care tools for me especially when I depression wants to knock on my door, is listening, or creating playlists that help uplift your spirit, like listening to uplifting music or creating like a self-care playlist, especially when you're feeling down, like going to that playlist or taking a walk outside. That's a really a good one that I love, is like getting outdoors, like just getting that fresh air in and like being able to see the beauty of your surroundings and like just be in the moment. Like that in itself, just allows you to be present. And I think sometimes being present and practicing that gratitude and even thinking about what you're grateful for when you're like outdoors, or if you can't get outdoors, like sitting in front of a window or like whatever, like it just helps you to just know that, like you don't have to go through that by yourself, and that, things will get better.
So I need to not confess here, but I do need to say that I don't have a ton of experience with grief. I've been through trials and tribulations in my life, just like everybody else, but grief has not been one of them. So forgive me if I'm asking silly questions here, but grief, there are certain aspects of grieving that are healthy, correct?
I would say there definitely are healthy ways to grieve, and ways that we can really because if you are grieving and like you're doing things that may be like something harmful to your body, like that could be a really hard way that someone may process grief. But to find healthy coping mechanisms, like I just feel like that personally, because there's always two choices that we can make in really anything, but especially when we're going through hard, difficult times or losing someone we love, like you have the option. Yes, you can turn to alcohol, you can turn to drugs. That is an option. Everybody has that option, but you don't have to choose that. That doesn't have to be the only thing you resort to. You can find other ways, or find the support in finding other ways to cope with grief.
Yeah.
And honor your loved ones.
Absolutely.
And because your loved ones want you to live a positive, healthy life.
Right.
Absolutely.
And to honor them by doing the best you can to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's okay to cry, because crying is cleansing.
Very cleansing.
And
yeah, definitely crying. And I think that's another big one that goes back to grief. Like, some people, they may not express any feelings, thoughts, or emotions about it. They just kind of just let it linger, but never really address it. So I do think sitting with the feeling of grief is a healthy way to cope with it. And yes, you more than likely will cry, and it will be heavy, but just knowing that those tears, it's a healing experience to cry. It's cleansing for your soul to cry, And so when you allow yourself, if tears fall down, let them fall. Just allow yourself to cleanse your spirit, and just keep going. Get back up again.
Yeah, it's a release of a burden. And most people that go through grief, what helps them the most is going to a support group, talking to people who have experienced the same things. Because once you say it out loud, just like writing it down,
acknowledgement,
you are letting it go. You are, releasing it. And so that's definitely important for people. You don't have to deal with any of this stuff on your own, no matter what it is. There's help out there.
Right, and you may feel lonely, but you're never alone.
I kind of wanted to end on, since you are the master of affirmations, if we can end on an affirmation.
I take comfort in the memories of my loved one and the legacy they left on my life. I give myself time and space to feel all of my feelings and allow myself to cry when I need to cry. I can and I will cope with the grieving process. I will take time to care for my needs today. As hard as it may feel, I will continue to press on. I choose to feel at peace today.
With that, we wish everybody safe and peaceful and wonderful holidays.
And enjoy the rest of 2023. And speaking of 2023, this wraps up this year for the Mental Gains podcast. Thanks so much for listening all season. I've learned a ton. I've had a lot of fun with really all of the guests. And it was a pleasure working with you, Verna.
Yes, you as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it so much fun?
Yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of laughs, but it was also difficult. You know, this is the first time I've ever done a podcast. And so.
And you might be podcasting in the future.
I may.
Keep your eyes out for Verna Mullins and Matt Russell. As we head into 2024, we have some projects that we're excited about. But that's Verna. She's a producer and a host. I'm Matt Russell. I'm a producer and host. Chris Pfeiffer is the executive producer of the Mental Gains podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you for your support. Bye.
WGTE. Voices around us.
WGTE is supported in part by American Rescue Plan Act funds allocated by the City of Toledo and the Lucas County Commissioners and administered by the Arts Commission.